puffing over rocks and broken branches, I made my way, along with 15 or 16 others, one step closer to Machu Picchu. The sun had already started to fall over the horizon, and I was still stuck in the back, barely making my way up our day one campsite. I could see my father every few minutes turn around to look for me. He was in the front of the pack with the rest of the University of Alaska Southeast gang. We had traveled to Peru for a 3-week-long Spanish and anthropology. After what seemed like a decade of climbing up and up and up, we turned the corner to see our campsite already put together by the Peruvian Sherpas that had rushed ahead to get everything ready. I was exhausted. I didn't think I could do this. No way. Hiking 4 days to Machu Picchu didn't seem like such a challenge when my father and I talked about it while hiking in Juneau. We had discussed how easy it might be since we were such serious explorers on the trails that zigzagged through the snowy mountains of Southeast Alaska. But here on a different continent, in a different country, at a different altitude way above sea level, I felt like I had no chance. One hiker from our group had decided to make his way down the mountain the next morning, as this was too much for him to handle. One look at my father though, and I knew that that was no option for me. That night, my father offered to lighten my load, transferring objects of mine into his already stuffed travel backpack and trying to lift my spirits by letting me know that I already made it through day one. With a good attitude, the rest would be no challenge at all, even if we would be climbing up Dead Woman's Pass, 13,829 feet above sea level, the hardest day of our trek. Our tour guide woke us up bright and early, tapping our tents, letting us know breakfast was ready. We ate instant oatmeal and other breakfast foods, drank tea and coffee, and talked of the events in the day ahead of us. Once we climbed over Dead Woman's Pass, it was supposedly easy going from there on out. We grabbed our stuff and headed for the hiking trail. We started our hike by climbing under the jungle-like trees with the sun's rays peeking between the vines, shadows dancing around us on the forest floor. The sound of tiny creeks trickling nearby kept us feeling fresh and alive, as well as the silly stories from each of us that we told us to keep our mind off of our tired and worn bodies. We rested in an open field sprinkled with alpacas before starting on the last rocky, dry, treeless stretch of the trip to the top. My father made sure to see how I was doing, and if I knew, even if I was a little slower than the rest, that I could make it up to Machu Picchu. Once the group got started again, the occasional breeze was a nice break from the sun that glared down upon us. We all seemed to have a nice sunburn, as Alaska folks don't do well with the higher altitude sunlight. Our tour guide let us know that the very peak of Dead Woman's Pass was close by. I tiredly laughed as I believed that every corner we came across would be the very peak. My father had slowed down, coming to the back of the group where I was to see how I was doing, and decided to stick it out with me at my snail pace until the very end. Finally, in the distance, we could see a sign that let us know that this corner we were turning was the corner. Fast hiking group members were already there, cheering my father and I on. We dropped our backpacks and stopped to look down at the valley we had just hiked up from. Halfway there, we thought, halfway there. After beaming down on our accomplishment, my father had the anthropology professor take a photo of the two of us at the top of the peak. "Say kui," he shouted over the wind. We had learned earlier in the week that kui, also known as fried guinea pig, was the Peruvian delicacy. We laughed and my father held on to me tighter. I could see how proud he was, and I couldn't believe that I had hiked so far. The day before had just been a trial run for me, a day to get it into my head that I could do it.